Hey guys, new build here. It's called Scold's Last Breath. I want to show you some mapping just so you can see if it's something that you would even be remotely interested in. It is a trigger based build, and on the forums if you just search for Scold's Last Breath, I got the framework from a guy, same as like XLI or something. I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but this build's very fun. It's pretty quick, a lot of danger that you put yourself in. Also, it's not very good if you have like epilepsy, or if you experience like a lot of discomfort from things like bright lights and lots of flashing effects. It's maybe not so good, but I think it's a lot of fun, and I'll share my thoughts overall. I don't really have like a table of contents prepared. It's a very impromptu video, and so it's going to be a little bit sloppy. But once again, we're doing a map first because I think it's very important for you to see gameplay before you even like consider a build or decide that you want to hear more or learn more about a build, right? It's always gameplay first, then the mechanical things, and then you can ask me questions later if you would like. Oh, look at this, no single target today. So laggy. Once again, with a lot of these trigger builds and a lot of these, oh, you see that lag from the vortex closing? With a lot of these mechanics, it causes so much lag, and that's like always the worst part about it, right? I'll do another map and I'll kind of explain things. So everything is being triggered, and it works in tandem with fast attack speed, a Scold's bridle, which is a helm, a fevered mind jewel, and also you are linking everything to a certain leveled cast with damage taken setup. In my current setup, I have about 4 cast when damage taken. I have one in my chest, I have one in my helm, I have one in my boots, and then finally I have one in my shield. I'll show you these after this map. I just want to give you guys a little bit more gameplay before we go into the boring stuff, which is mechanics. Good things about this build is you get to show off your juicy MTX. You know, with the meta these days, the issue is, you spend all this money on MTX and cool skill effects and all that, and you rarely get to show it off, right? Because what ends up happening is with the meta, you use one skill to obliterate the screen, and then maybe you have some auras like Gloom Herald that are commonly used. So all of the other MTX that you've bought over the years kind of goes to waste. You don't get to see those too much. Well, with this build, you get a lot of freedom. You get to choose any spells you want. I chose quite a few, and actually the deciding factor for all the spells I'm using in here, it wasn't even really damage or which one's better than another. It was simply which one have I bought MTX for, and which one do I want to show off. So that was a little bit of gameplay on some rare strands, nothing too crazy. If you want to level up to high levels, maybe push level 100, this is not the build to do it. I've died so many times from killing myself on this build, and we'll go over the mechanics real quick. Okay, there's a couple important items that I will go over, and let me just drag them out here. And so the things that you will need that are that you can't go without are these right here. You have a Scold's bridle, which makes you take damage when you use a skill, and it takes 400% of the mana cost, and it hits you in the life with it, hits you in the face. And it's important to notice that this is physical damage, so it's reduced by things like armor, evasion rate, and armor and endurance charges, things that reduce physical damage. So that's why I decided not to get any kind of armor. In fact, there's like evasion crafted on these rings in case I use a carcass jack, but that's neither here nor there. So you're taking damage here when you cast a spell, and then how do we gain that back, right? Well, we have a few methods of it. So the first is Xerfe's Last Breath. Okay, while this is in effect, which means while you're gaining mana from the flask, this is about 11 seconds because I have Alchemist. You have 11 seconds where, as long as you are not at full mana, the skill that you cast will gain you that 800% of life. So obviously you can see how it offsets, right? The Xerfe's massively offsets the damage you take from Scolds. And then we have, how do we get our mana cost high enough to trigger cast when damage taken? Well, we have this, Fevered Mind. I'm using, I believe, 5 or 6 of these in my setup, and that causes my shield charge that's linked in a 4-link, it's just in a 4-link, to be 217, right? I chose to go Brightbeak with shield charge because I like mobility and I like the speed. The guide that I looked at for a framework, it uses a Bitter Dream to jack up the cost on a cyclone. A little bit slower, but maybe a little bit more convenient or consistent. So another important thing to note with this is that, this might be obvious to some of you, but you get hit with the damage first and then it comes back. Now let's say you're at like half health, right? You won't see the dipping. You'll only see the net positive 400% mana cost gain, right? You will not see a dip and then an increase. So it's kind of like a bad Vol Pact where behind the scenes, what's happening is it's calculating, taking away the life and then giving it back to you, although you'll only see yourself gaining that 400% net. Okay, very important, because this build is extremely dangerous and scary, not hardcore viable, because if you get chunked to a level where you're shield charging and that would have taken you down to 0, you just die. Okay, you don't like it. Even if you get net 400%, it would bring you up. No, you get to a certain threshold and you just kill yourself. So your effective HP isn't actually even this number. It's a little bit less than that. Another thing to say is that the cast when damage taken setups are about level 17 or 18. I found that was for Beserker, because I'm taking 10% increased damage. I was able to level up my cast with damage taken up once more, so that every 3 charges the cast with damage taken goes off. Maybe like 4 charges for some of the, it doesn't completely line up like that, but it's about 3. And shield charge, you can shield charge on yourself, right? It doesn't have to move forward, so it's extremely fast. So that was what's comfortable for me. You can level it or de-level it depending on what's comfortable for your level of gear, your attack speed, and your character. So test that out a little bit. Another little mechanical thing that's important to note is that when you're going around, all of these triggers that are going off, they go off in sequence. So this is like kind of, it's not too important, but just know that cast when damage taken, it goes clockwise. Yeah, it goes clockwise. So like top left, it goes this way. See, top left to bottom left. So maybe like if you have anything that's more priority, like elemental weakness, you want that to go off like first before the other things. These are just like very nitty gritty things. You can do that. Another thing with this build is that attack speed is extremely important, because with Scolds, there's no like cooldown to this damage that you take with physical. So you're just getting hit as fast as you can attack, right? And so I chose to link Blood Magic to shield charge to ink AoE to faster attacks. Okay, this might not even be the best setup, but that's what I chose to use, and it allows me to proc all the stuff very reasonably under most circumstances. The other links in this gear are going to be, so I'm using, Arctic Breath, Firestorm, LE Weakness. I'm using Blood Rage's auto cast because I like to be really lazy, as you know, and I don't like to cast things manually, so that goes off. And then here's an Ice Nova for a little bit more damage. In here I have Vortex, cast with damage taken, Shock Nova, Ink AoE, just to make it look better. This is only for looks, to make those things really pop. And then here I have Herald of Ice, Herald of Thunder. The auras are swappable. You can even go like, anger if you're feeling like really crazy. You can even have like anger and an aura, but it's kind of hard to manage the mana flask when you can't see the mana that well. No, these aren't tamings, they're just skin. But opal rings with life. If you really want some single target, you can go Emberwake Taming, but I didn't find that was necessary because I just wanted to have fun clearing maps. In my 6-link cast when damage taken, LMP, Bladefall, Control Destruction, Fireball, Frostbolt. The LMP is just for these 2 skills. Bladefall I just stuck in there because I could not find adequate colors for a chest that had Vol Pact. And you don't have to have Vol Pact on a Skin of the Lords. You can use like a Carcass Jack, a Belly of the Beast if you want more HP. Reason I wanted the Vol Pact on a Skin of the Lords is it saves me this points of travel. See, I would have to level up so many times and give up stuff like attack speed. on the left side of the tree, maybe a little bit more life to get Vault Pact. So now, because when you shield charge, so here, if you look at my life, it's 15% of your life counts as a savage hit, right? So that's 650 times 1.5, so that's close to like 1,000, right? It's around 1,000. And so when you're shield charging, you're always going to be savage hitting yourself. And so when that happens, you get 100% leech. So if you somehow have Vault Pact and 100% leech, you're really not gonna be in that much danger at all, right? So Cloak and Savagery, very good. And then you get the leech here, which stacks, and usually that's good. And I'm also using Vinktar's. Flash setup it's really whatever you want. I recommend Dying Sun because you have projectiles and everything else is AoE. So Dying Sun, I think, is mandatory to make the build pop. I have a Keanu's Determination, just because like you're always up close when you're shield charging on top of your character. You know, you're going to be in the danger, right? You're not very mobile, so like sometimes I do still get stunned, and this is like, you know, the curses and things like that, freeze, chill immunity. It's not laughable. It's very good. Other than that, I have a vessel and a grounding flask, just because Vinktar's gives. I do have a couple lightning skills, and so the Vinktar's helps a little bit, but mostly the shock is a very nice damage multiplier. This diamond, you just need grounding. It doesn't have to be diamond. You can. I was thinking about going Stibnite because once again, when you're shield charging on top of yourself to trigger maximum scolds and cast when damage taken triggers, you are standing in place. So a smoke cloud would be very nice. Also on this build, I'm using lightning golem because on my helm I have an increased buff to lightning golems. Skill tree here, classic, like, you know, leech, marauder nodes. I went lots of life. Skill tree here is a mess. I don't know if this is actually right. I should probably go like up here and then lose this, and I could do a bunch of stuff to optimize this, but it's just that right now I was kind of winging the character anyway. So you go over here for a little duelist, a little golem's blood, jewel sockets. It's important to get like 5 or 6 jewel sockets, but get the AoE nodes, all that good stuff. And let's do another map. I can talk about some of the smaller like nuances of the build. Strand, oh, white strand. We'll do this. Leveling with this build is with Abrass Hooves once again, because you're spell based, you are AoE based, and so it's important to, you know, just get some comfortable leveling going. Now, one thing you notice is that, okay, so some of my gear has ES on it. When you have ES, you have to make sure that the ES goes away first before you spam your flasks. You have to have last breath going to gain the health back. What do I mean by that? If my mana is full here, and look at this, I'm pressing 5, right? It doesn't use Xerfes. So if your mana is full, you don't get the pseudo Vault Pact back. So it's important to make sure that your mana is depleted a little bit through Mind Over Matter. So Mind Over Matter, you hit yourself and you take it through mana, and what you'll see happen is that I'm always at 0 mana because I'm hitting myself, and this keeps me low so that I get the full 11-second duration on the Xerfes. So basically 11 minutes of a bad Vault Pact, right? So that's how you got to do it that way. Be very careful. It takes just a few maps to get used to the flask and all that stuff, and then you'll be on your way. And then after that, you really only need to press it every 11 seconds. It lasts so long, and as long as you're holding down your shield charge, you're probably not gonna die. Okay, you only die like a lot when you level because it instantly shoots up your mana cost to full, and then you can like one-shot yourself. And see, this is what I'm talking about with the brightbeak. Why did I choose a brightbeak? Because you can attack so fast, and more attacks means more procs of your cast when damage taken, and it just feels nice to be able to move fast as well. We'll skip that breach because it's taking a long time, but as you can see, damage isn't terrible. It could always be better. I might test out leveling up my cast when damage takens and using even more fevered minds. Maybe go like 21, 20 cast when damage taken and stuff, but that'll be later on. that's the build. Quick explanation, just my quick thoughts on it. Be careful when you set up your links, because as you see on the side, my cast win damage tokens are like level 17, and then so you have to make sure that the spells you choose are under the requirement there. What else is there to talk about on this build? Not much, right? That's the build. I hope you enjoy it. It is fun. You die a lot, but you get to look at all of your cool MTX. You don't need a headhunter. This is just for fun. Use like a leather belt, lots of life, and all that stuff, and you'll be okay. Other than that, if you have questions, you can ask me maybe in game or something. All right. Thanks.